The 2014 New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship is proudly brought to you by these sponsors. Hello and welcome to Blendline TV. On this episode, we bring you all the highlight action from Mt Panorama and the New South Wales Production Touring Car Hour Endurance races. Before we get into the action highlights, we caught up with Dylan Thomas and the Kane Hisco pair from TLA Racing to get their thoughts about driving this iconic circuit.
Preparation's been good. Car's got a fresh motor in it. It's dynoed up nice and strong. Yeah, we're looking pretty good, so hopefully all well. We've got 3 cars running this weekend, so we've had a bit of focus on some of the other cars as well, so yeah, not too bad. Well, bring a straight car home would be a good starting place. Yeah, I mean, obviously we come here to win. You know, we're running the whole championship this year, so winning always gives you the best points for the good way to start the series. So yeah, we're here to win. We won last year. We're sharing it with the old man. He's running by himself this weekend, so yeah, we're definitely here to win. It's an awesome track. Every time you sort of 20 k's out, you see the hill come the way in. So yeah, Mt Panorama's definitely got a very special feeling, and yeah, one you'd like to really do well at.
All right, well, Trevor Miravito, TLA Racing have prepared the car. Mark and I have come on board, leasing the car this weekend at Bathurst, both of us, first time here. Just went out, did 6 laps then in practice quali, and the car is great. Brakes, tyres all came up well. Really impressed with the car. To finish it with the car in one piece and with a big smile.
Yep, do a few good laps, get used to the place, feel it out. Maybe we won't come first, but we'd like to be up the front of our category at least. And yeah, I think it's one of the great racing circuits of the world. I've raced at a few places, a few nice places. I've raced at the Nürburgring. I thought it was fantastic, but this is just, I mean, the fact that it's so close to home, and it's world class. Everything's fantastic.
Yeah, massive bucket list item for me as well. Yeah, I mean, it's it's a circuit I've been watching my whole life in various motorsport, and it's pretty much the pinnacle in Australia. So I'm really happy to be here this weekend.
Race 1 highlights now for the Shaw Vineyard Estate New South Wales Production Touring Cars. 38 cars on the grid for this first race, and you can just see atrocious conditions greeting competitors at Mt Panorama, and Jim Policina with the launch to get away and in front of Dylan Thomas and the Cell BMW, and everybody else just trying to file in. Visibility was extremely low in the early stages. You can see here on board with Hodges as he makes his way up the hill for the first time. The AP racing car of Proctor getting past there on the inside, the Subaru showing its traction in these stages, but it was just going to be a case of getting into a rhythm, and this weather was going to be causing havoc for everybody because braking was going to be hard to get temperatures up, tyres it was going to be hard to get into temperature, and you just needed to settle in. An hour around Mt Panorama is really a long time. We know that even from the 1,000-kilometre race here each year, and it was just a matter of getting your eye in, especially in these conditions, and just look at the guys sliding their way out of the cutting. There's Miller trying to look to the inside of the Marshalls. He wouldn't get the job done there, but he'd start to put pressure on for the rest of the race. Coming up there, the brand new car of Jerry Murphy as well. There it is, the yellow Monaro, great looking thing. Getting some pressure from the King Chrome car behind as we go on board with the Hisco Kane Commodore, and you can just see how low visibility is as he makes his way over the top of the mountain. That is the Dodd Bonanno Sirocco in front of him, and Kerry Morsink in front of that, and you can barely see those guys. So that shows how low visibility is as they came down into the chase for the first time. It was Rick Shaw who'd have a massive accident in the Mazda RX-8, firing backwards across the chase, though he was not the biggest moment. You can see he was lucky to bring the car up to a halt without further damage. That was the big one. Zach Lascalpo going over 5 times in the chase. You can see there the car barrel rolling through. Paul Lane unfortunately avoiding action and just found his way into the gravel trap as well. This was a great sportsmanship moment. You can see Steve Hodges pulling over. He wanted to make sure young Zach was okay. He was fine, so he continued racing. On board now here with Marty Miller, and just have a look out the left-hand side window. You'll see the speed at which Lascalpo, there he goes, the speed at which he rolled through the chase. Really lucky not to come back out onto the racing line and be collected by somebody else. And we're glad to say that Zach walked away unscathed. The car will need a little bit of work, but it's just a testament to how much safety is built into these cars these days. Back to racing after that cleanup, and Jim Policina again in the lead. Him and Dylan Thomas would have a great battle throughout their time heading towards that pit stop window. A few of the guys had already had pit stops and they'd be chasing their way through as Muir found the going tough out of the cutting. And have a look at this as Kerry Morsink goes to the inside here of Kane, down up into turn 2. Morsink now, these guys were having a great battle, passing each other a couple of times as they made their way up to the cutting. And just watch this, we'll go to Morsink here in a second. These guys going side by side. On board now with Morsink, and just as he comes out of the cutting, you come around the blind crest, and lo and behold, there's Muir stranded across the track. Lucky for Morsink, he was paying attention there and was able to pull the car up, and Muir gets away as well, and everybody lives to fight another day. Very slippery out there, and you can just see here that Shanks had an off at the top as well, so it wasn't just Muir who was struggling to keep the car on track. Everybody had at least one off-track excursion, it seemed, except for these front two as they continued their battle. Dylan Thomas putting all sorts of pressure on the back of Jim Policina, racing really hard, and they were slowly catching up to lap traffic, which included Graham Shaw here, who you can see coming up behind Anderson's BMW. Lovely turned out machine. We saw that at the end of 2014. Now in 2015, they're really getting their head around it. As we go on board with Graham Shaw from Shaw Vineyard Estate, he was putting pressure on Anderson and looking for his way past. Shaw unfortunately had a very slow pit stop, which had tumbled him down the order. And as they came across the top of the mountain, we'll see here on board with Shaw following Murphy there getting sideways over the top. And here you go. There goes Jim Policina to the inside. You'll see his car flash across the nose in just a second. There it is. So that's Jim Policina, the leader, and that gave Dylan Thomas, he was stuck behind Graham Shaw coming down the mountain. Shaw wasn't going that slow, but the speed at which Policina and Thomas had been moving meant that Thomas lost a lot of ground. Policina thought he could push home his advantage as they ran into the pit stop window, and as he entered the pit lane, just watch what happens here. The car aquaplanes, and from here on, Jim is a passenger backwards across the gravel trap. The car rotates a couple of times before heading down the escape road at Murray's. Luckily for Jim, the end of the pit stop window, so he really had to make it into the pits. Four-wheel drive power, here you go. New way of entering Mt Panorama's pit lane. Lost ground to Dylan Thomas, but would not miss his pit stop, so that was good for Jim. But the guys who came out on top were some people we didn't quite expect. Kevin Herban here inheriting the lead, and Daniel Flanagan right up behind him. So those two taking the lead of the race through superior pit stop strategy. We'll see how the rest of race 1 plays out after the break here on Blendline TV.
Television Sydney brings you down-to-earth motorsport at its very best. Blendline TV with all new episodes right here on Sydney's very own community TV station. Tuesday at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to the Shaw Vineyard Estate New South Wales production touring cars here on Blendline TV. Continuing our look at the Hour Enduro, the first Hour Enduro from Mt Panorama, and where we left off was Kevin Herban and Daniel Flanagan battling for the lead. These two guys would be marching away out front. You can see here Coulthard going a lap down, unfortunately, in the Lipple Molly car. Those guys had a bit of a bad pit stop and would lose out there as well. Looking now at Chris Reeves, our 2014 defending New South Wales state champion. He was having a great battle with Glenn Kenny in the blue BMW behind him. Those two guys have gone toe for toe in 2014 and we're continuing the same in 2015. Though it looked like Chris Reeves would probably have enough to win this one, the first race of the weekend. On board with Hisco and Kane, they found themselves in the middle of this battle as well. The wet weather playing a bit of havoc with the Commodore and some brake biased issues we heard from pit lane, causing them a few issues as well. So they were continuing to make their way around and really starting to find a bit of pace. And then you can see here, Daniel Flanagan and Kevin Herben. Kevin Herben sideways out of the final corner, trying everything he could to get back past, as Flanagan had stole the lead with only a couple of laps remaining, and it was on at the front. These guys moving their way past. There's Glenn Kenny in front, who we'd just spoken about. So past this battle pack, and Chris Reeves was out of there. He was nowhere to be seen. I'm board now. Coming up Mountain Straight now, and you can see Kevin Herben is tucking into the draft. He's just trying to see if he could get close enough. Often down the hill, Herben had the strength, but up the hill, Flanagan, the power of his Class A2 car, managing to pull away from Herben. So it was an interesting battle, lots of strengths and weaknesses between the two cars, and it was good to see the two of them going as hard as they possibly could. Daniel Flanagan trying to find a bit of room here, and just look at this, Kevin Herben to the inside. So that shows you just how fast Kevin Herben was down the hill, but his ultimate straight line speed didn't have him being able to get down to the chase in front, and Flanagan drove around the outside, twitching through the chase, and look at this, side by side on their way out. These guys leaving nothing on the table, nothing to chance. Herben a little bit sideways, twitching, and a little touch between them there. That was about the only touch the two of them had the whole race. Really just great driving from two great guys. They were waving and carrying on behind the wheel as well. And I mean, where else could you look but at this battle when you've got two cars going side by side around most of the track? They were really fighting for the victory. Both of them, though, didn't know that they were going for victory. Their teams hadn't told them on the radios. They thought they were just battling, having a bit of fun in the mid-pack, as they normally are, and instead, here they are going for the outright without even realising. Chris Reeves there doing the right thing, moving over. He's pulled away, would take home Class D comfortably, and on the final lap, Hisco would have a spin over the top of the mountain, finding the Yeehaw event sign, and having to do a bit of a three-point turn at the top. Not something you'd want to do. We have a replay of it here. You can see just as he touches the brakes, loses the front of the car, and around comes the rear, and look at that, just touches the wall. Not much damage, so the guys were able to continue and bring it home comfortably. But at the end of the day, Daniel Flanagan was just unstoppable. Kevin Herben had nothing he could throw at him, and there you go, across the line, both of them absolutely ecstatic with their positions. So at the end of the race, it was Daniel Flanagan leading home, Kevin Herben, Dylan Thomas, David Thomas getting home for fourth place, and Matt Holt rounding out your top five. Between the races, we managed to catch up with a couple of drivers, including Shane Jacobson and Marty Miller.
Yeah, well, I've been involved with the Petters race team now for, well, a bit over 2 years. So actually, I debuted with them right here, actually, at Mt Panorama Bathurst 2 years ago. It's impossible to think it was 2 years ago, but apparently 2 years has passed, and it did so very quickly. So yeah, we got a chance to run around and brought the car back straight 2 years ago. We're hoping to repeat that here this year. There's one man that's not a part of our race team, and his name is God, and he runs the weather. He's been throwing rain down all day, so we're about to get a chance to go out in the drive, which we're looking forward to. As you can hear, the cars are firing up now. I mean, I'm sure your cameraman will let me know if this is too loud. I'm going to talk loud now, but see, this is what motorsport is. It's loud. That's why I like it, because I'm loud. No, so I've been with Petters for 2 years now, but it's just fantastic to be back with them. And, you know, the opportunity to drive a car at Mt Panorama at Bathurst it really is like being asked to sing with the Rolling Stones. So look, preparation, you can never prepare enough, in all honesty. You kind of want to get as much practice as you can. I had a chance to run around Winton a couple of weeks ago in the car, but never as much practice as you want. Well, I'd love to race every day of the year, but it's just not going to happen. I've got 5 TV shows to do this year, and I've got 2 movies coming out, so very loud cars, very loud cars. So I've got a lot of projects on this year, but we're hoping to get some more races in, but obviously there's only one race we're focused on at the moment, and that's this weekend. So
I love the place. It's like my second home. This is my 16th time. A straight car and a good result. No, it's a HSV VZ Club Sport R8. We've changed it all back to production spec because it was an improved production before that. We hope to me personally get up in the top 3, but after 1 hour, who knows what's going to happen.
Race 2 highlights now, and you can see a drastic change of conditions for this one and dry weather as the guys got away for the race start. You can see Jim Pollicina looking left and right, trying to get his way past Matt Holt in the opening stages. He had a great launch and was just looking to try to get away as the rest of the field came on through. Of course, losing a few cars due to the wet weather and some accidents the day before, but still a great field of New South Wales production touring cars making their way out on the second of the 2-hour Enduros. Jim Pollicina was wasting no time getting to the front, getting past Matt Holt and getting in behind Searle on the run up to 2. These guys, the battle would be intense in these front runners. Hodges would get in there as well, Healy and Muir, and unfortunately Graham Shaw, the Shaw Vineyard Estate, his car not going anywhere, stranded on the dummy grid, mechanical failure forcing him out of the race. This was another great battle pack. David Thomas, Paul Lane, Kerry Morsink, and in front the Hisco car. And we just go on board now with Paul Lane. He's trying to wave to Thomas to go past. Probably doesn't realise it's the other CXC car, the one he will be fighting with, that's behind him. So you can see here starting to make ground on the TLA racing car and unfortunately not able to make the pass. He'd just get a little bit balked behind him and then managed to make the pass a little bit later on. The Ford AU Falcons were having a good old run, as well as the Sirocco going to the inside. And just look at Chris Reeves using all of the corner and a bit more to try to keep the pace up in that Toyota 86. In the early stages, the battle was hot. You had Muir, Hodges, Holt, Pollicina, all battling each other, all over each other. Everybody just looking for that little inch to get past. And Brett Healy sitting in behind in the Wollongong Auto Parts car, waiting with the watching brief. Matt Holt looked like he had a lot of speed in the early stages and he was making Jim Pollicina sweat for the position. But all that just allowed Dylan Thomas to start to walk away a little bit at front as Matt Holt put pressure on the back of Jim Pollicina, and that ultimately slowed them all down. Just look at this field coming through, and there's the Anderson BMW as well. On board with Daniel Flanagan, he was making his way forward and managing to get past Miller on the run up the hill. So not the best of starts for our defending race winner, but he was making his way forward, which was good to see. We'll have more action from the race 2 highlights here at Mount Panorama after the break on Blendline TV.
Television Sydney brings you down-to-earth motorsport at its very best. Blendline TV with all new episodes right here on Sydney's very own community TV station. Tuesday at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Blendline TV, and disaster for Kevin Herban in the 2nd hour Enduro here for New South Wales Production Touring Cars, finding his way into the wall at the chase. You can see Kev giving the thumbs up. We've got a replay here from helmet cam, and just look at this. The pedal goes to the floor as he goes into the chase, avoiding action not to hit the kite car in front, and then just sailing across the gravel trap and into the wall. Unfortunate end for Kevin Herban after such a strong showing the day before, and he was a bit distraught by the time he got back to the pit lane. You see here from this angle, just look how close it was to kite. Great avoiding action there to go to the inside. Presence of mind from Kev Herban. That car will be rebuilt and he'll be back out fighting again with New South Wales Production Touring Cars in no time at all. This battle at the front continued as well, with Matt Holt putting pressure all over the back of Jim Pollicina, and that allowed the marshals who we're on board with now just to start to squeeze their way into the battle as well, getting past Healy on the run down to turn 1. It was good to see the Melbourne Performance car starting to make its way forward, just squeezing Healy a little bit there, and then it was a 6-way fight for 2nd position in the race. So really good to see so many cars with so many different ways of going about racing, all battling for the lead. Marshall would utilise the pit stop window and people moving out of the way to get himself up into second place for a short period of time, and he'd start to try to close down on Dylan Thomas. We also had a great battle here with Krinolos and Murphy going at it hard. The Kinchrome racing car really pushing as hard as he could behind Murphy in the brand new Monaro, just being finished built by Racebred Engineering. A brilliant looking piece of machinery, and Murphy was trying to drive it as hard as he could, but getting all sorts of pressure from behind as Kerry Morsink started to buy into this battle as well. So we had a 3-car battle, a couple of Monaros and a Commodore really pushing each other. It was great racing. Nobody really making a manoeuvre, but there was heaps of pressure, really strong driving between all of them. You can see here Joe goes to the inside, locks a brake a little bit, doesn't make the move. Murphy covers him off, and those guys would continue that battle for a few laps. But then after the pit stop window, disaster for Joe. You can see here Paul Lane behind him, his wheel would come off down the straight, or down through the dipper, and round Forest Elbow, there you go, no rear wheel on the car. So down Conrad Straight, Joe would just have to try to nurse the car back. Luckily he would get back. Everybody else would avoid the wheel as well, as it was very well behaved and found its way to the Falcon tyre sign, parking up against the wall out of the way. So racing could continue, no safety car with that one. Having a look now at the Hisco Kane car. These guys were having a much better race on Sunday, really finding their way and their rhythm in the car. We'll go on board here with Michael Kane as he makes his way down to the final corner. Let's enjoy a lap on board with this Commodore and just enjoy the sounds of a V8 Commodore around Mount Panorama. Fantastic sounds there from the TLA Racing Commodore as it makes its way down to the final corner yet again, getting past Glenn Kenny, who was sitting in third place in Group Class D at that moment in time. And you can see here the battle between Holt and Searle was starting to catch them up as well. Chris Thomas yet again passing Glenn Kenny to take a lap advantage on him. And it was looking good for Chris Thomas into the final stages. The 000 racing car looking set to take another Class D crown, but he was starting to get chased down. And it was from an unlikely source that we didn't expect, as a BMW would start to catch up to him, and that was the Sudgeon Williams car, Pinnacle Automotive, number 87. You can see him just there behind the black BMW, starting to close in on Chris Rees, and he would get him before the end of the race. It was a great battle between the two of them. Fantastic viewing, and really the race to watch as we came down into the final stages of the last hour enduro. Coming across the top of the mountain, you can see just how much ground the BMW was making up down the mountain, and then down Conrod Straight, made the position with a lap to go. So heartbreak for Chris Rees, but still great championship points for him as he continues to search to defend his 2014 crown. Looking very strong in 2015 as Class D continues to get stronger and stronger. But nobody could lay a hand on Dylan Thomas yet again, the CXC Global car for another year, winning an hour enduro here for New South Wales Production Touring Cars at Mount Panorama. A very comfortable victory for Thomas in the end, and he would put in one of his fastest laps on the last lap, just trying to prove a point that the car still had it in it, despite him being able to nurse it all the way with a comfortable gap home. So there you go, Dylan Thomas across the line for a comfortable victory, leading home the rest of the field with a huge gap. Behind him was the Luke Searle Graham car, Matt Holt, Jim Policina, and the Marshals rounding out the top 5. After the race, we caught up with Dylan Thomas to get his thoughts on taking home yet another endurance victory at Mount Panorama.
27.23 was his fastest lap, that one there.
Thanks, it was a good race weekend here. The boys did a great job. We had a strong start, got a nice gap before the pit stops. Boys did a great stop from the CXC Global Racing team. Pulled us out with about, 30-second lead or something. And then Lukey Sewell was really, really quick. We managed the gap, and we were able to bring it home. So, we won last year with the old man, so father-son last year at Bathurst, which is awesome feeling. And to do it back-to-back this year feels really good. Good points for the championship. We'll be at round 2. We're going to run the whole New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship. Good way to get some points up, and thanks to the committee group and all the officials that helped out. So, yeah.
Well, that's all we've got time for here on Blendline TV. We hope you've enjoyed the highlights of the New South Wales Production Touring Cars from Mount Panorama. Make sure to get out and see the guys. They've got plenty more rounds this year, and you will see some fantastic racing. Until next time, bye for now.